Hi everybody, I'm Catherine. I am from the Co-op social media team and I am the social media content planning manager. Thank you for joining me this evening. So we're going to be talking about social content. So let's get started. Let me share my presentation with you. Give me a second. Okay, so that's my little introduction. So when I say social content, what exactly do I mean? So social content can be lots of different things. It can be links, it can be photos, it can be live video and live streams, it can be just text, it can be GIFs, it can be videos. So there are lots of different content, and that's what I mean when I say social content. We've been indicated that that you would like to hear about social content on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. So I'm going to start with Twitter because that's one of my favourite social media platforms. It's a great place to engage with others. It's a great place to build a community. It's a great place to know what other people are saying about things that you're interested in. So the great joy with Twitter is that there is a 140 character limit. So if you've got a lot to say, you need to think about getting it down to this 140 character limit. And if you've only got a little bit to say, then perfect. The 140 character limit does exclude links, photos, GIFs, videos, and polls now. So once you add a text, and once you add, a photo or a video, you've still got your 140 characters left. So you can still write your text there. So I'll pop onto photos and GIFs. If you're not already sharing photos and GIFs on social media, you should 100% be doing so. And I'll tell you why. Because photos and such as these get fantastic engagement rates. You can see that tweets get up to 300% more engagement if they have an image in it. And really, it makes sense why. A quick stroll through my feed today, we had 3 people that I'm following all talking about food. So you can see the top tweet here actually included photos, and immediately it's taken up half of my screen on my phone, and my eye is really drawn to that compared to the other 2. So you can see why photos are important and why photos really help drive engagement. So really think about sharing photos on Twitter. I'll pop onto videos now. If you're sharing photos already, then fantastic. If you're sharing videos on Twitter already, then even better. Videos, like photos, get fantastic engagement rates. 82% of Twitter users watch video content regularly. So it's a really good medium to be using. Engagement is also higher on your videos when you share your video directly on Twitter and you don't just link through. If you don't just link through to a video that's hosted on YouTube. So I'll show you what I mean here. So on the left, you can see this is someone that shared a video directly onto Twitter. So when people scroll through their feed, the video is already there in the feed. They don't have to go anywhere. It automatically plays. So engagement is fantastic because you don't have to go anywhere. You can be very lazy and the video is put right in front of you. Here, someone shared a really good video that is a link through to YouTube. So the user has to click on the button and is redirected through to YouTube. So when a video is shared in this way, it just gets less engagement. So if you can, do share videos directly onto Twitter. Keep your videos short and sweet. All your videos on social media should be short and sweet. Twitter makes you keep it short and sweet because the limit is 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I'll tell you why you should keep it short and sweet is because on social media, the majority of people stop viewing video content after 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, they drop off and they'll go and find something else to do on social media or someone else's video to watch. So when you're creating a video, you really want to get your main point and really pack a punch in those first 10 seconds and then go on to explain perhaps a little bit more about what it is that you're doing. So it's something to really think about when you're creating your video content. If you're doing video content, then I'd say the next step is to try live content on Twitter. So live content is relatively new on social media compared to other mediums. but it is fantastic, and social media platforms really drive and really encourage people, to use live content, and they give out notifications when people go live to try and build up your little audience. So going live on Twitter is really simple. So this is obviously using your phone, and you can just open your little app on Twitter. You'd go to write a tweet, and you would click the live button just here. So this was me going live this afternoon with very exciting content of my dog just relaxing. So it pops up and it shows you what your camera is looking at, so you can get ready, you know that it's looking at what you're looking at, and you type obviously what's happening, and you click go live. Once you go live, you can actually get comments from people. You can see how people can react to it as well. So it's a great way to share content on Twitter. Polls are also a really easy way to drive engagement on your Twitter account. It's an easy way for people to engage with you, so I would encourage you to do the same. So create a poll is really simple. They can be as complex or as simple as you want. So this was one I was writing earlier. Which do you prefer, dogs or cats? You can have up to 4 options on any poll, and you can change the length that the poll runs for. So you can have it run for a day, you can have it run for a couple of hours, and you can have it run for a mere 30 seconds or a couple of seconds. It's a great way to drive engagement, and it's a great way to kind of, spark a bit of interest with those people that are following you. If you're creating some kind of local community event, perhaps, and you want feedback, it's a great way to gather feedback that you can actually quantify. So it could be which day people prefer to have an event, where would they prefer to go to have an event, a community hall, some street, etc. Just something to think about. Some examples of companies that have used polls to just trying to drive engagement on their accounts. That was a 4-way poll, a 2-way poll, so you get the idea. Hashtags on Twitter. So wherever possible, I would say use a hashtag. Hashtags are fantastic because as soon as you use a hashtag, you're really opening your content out to people who aren't just following you. You open it up to everybody else on Twitter. So you really help share what it is that you want to say. Some top tips on hashtags, because I see this happen quite often. So when you're using a hashtag and you use more than one, make sure there's a space between it. So as soon as when you're writing it, it goes blue, that means that when you tweet it, it is like proper hashtag and it will be clickable, and people can also go through and click and see people talking about thunderstorms. Again, with hashtags, don't use punctuation in the middle of a hashtag because it breaks up your hashtag. You can see here that it's just classing being co as a hashtag and not hashtag being co-op. So just a little tip there. For hashtags to use, keep an eye on the top trends. So your top trends are the top 10 things that people are talking about at any one time on social media. So they can be UK-wide, they can be narrowed down to a city such as Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, or they can be worldwide. Sometimes your trends on here might be something relevant to you. So every Tuesday there's a Giving Tuesday, sometimes there's community stuff, and sometimes it's location stuff that pops up. So it's a great way to jump in and perhaps share, find what people are saying about that and jump in and start a conversation, or sharing your news with a relevant audience. You can also use hashtags, and I'd encourage this, especially when you're doing community stuff, to use a geographical hashtag. So people know on Twitter where you are and where it is that you're based, and the event that you're hosting, the community work you're doing, where exactly it is. And it's a great way to also build connections with people on Twitter. So obviously you can click on the Lancashire hashtag or the Chorley hashtag or the Leeds hashtag and find other people that they might be interested in what you're doing, and you might be interested in what they're doing. You can also use hashtags that are relevant to your topic, so what your actual tweet is talking about. So if it's to do with recipes, use food. If it's to do about an event that you're creating, include event, etc. If the tweet has the word in the middle of it, it's a great idea to obviously use the hashtag there rather than put the hashtag right at the end. So obviously you can say, I'm organising a hashtag event in Manchester. And then you've basically saving your characters as well. You can also use hashtags to join a wider conversation, as I said earlier with top trends. So hashtag We Stand Together has been a really prominent one whilst the country has come together and communities across the UK have come together. Hashtag X Factor, completely different, about people obviously sharing their views and opinions on a top TV show. And we have our own hashtags here at the Co-op. So Being Co-op is one that our colleagues use to share what they've been up to, ways that they're proud of working at the Co-op. And there's also the hashtag The Co-op Way, which is everything about how we're a different way of doing business. So that's obviously a lot of our work with local communities, but also fair trade, any to do with the modern slavery, tackling modern slavery that we're really passionate about at the moment. Okay, so the last tip on Twitter for me is something, again, I see that happens quite often, and it does make a difference to what you're doing and to how many people see your tweet. So here, obviously, I'm saying that Co-op is a great place to work. The problem is that Twitter thinks that I'm just talking to Co-op. It doesn't think that I want all my followers to see this. So if you're including somebody at the beginning of your tweet, but you want all your followers to see it, you should definitely pop a full stop right at the front of it. So then it is actually shared with all your followers and it doesn't just go directly to Twitter. Or you can just reword what you're saying and make sure that your @ handle is at the end or the middle of the tweet, and then you don't have to worry about this. Okay, so with Twitter, it is very much you need to think about how do you know what's working. So if you're really wanting to build an audience and build engagement, fantastic way of doing this is going to analytics.twitter.com on a desktop or mobile device and just logging in with your Twitter profile. Once you do this, you get access to a dashboard and it shows you your engagement for your account. So you can see immediately your top tweets. You can see some great stats, and you get a really good idea of what your followers actually engage with and what your followers really like. So you can think maybe that you wondered why, a certain tweet didn't work as well as you thought it would. So then the next week, maybe include an image or word it differently. I would include a different hashtag and then compare it to see, obviously, whether one did better than the other. It's also a great way to see if your community and your followers really love videos and this is what your stats show you, then continue to share videos. Once you've obviously signed up with analytics, whenever you're on a mobile device and you have a tweet, you get this little analytics button in the bottom, and when you can click on that, it takes you through to a little dashboard like this, and it'll show you impressions. So it's how many times people could have seen this on Twitter and how many total engagements that you got off the back of it. So it's just a great way to keep an eye on what's working and what isn't working, because at the end of the day, it's down to what your followers engage with. It doesn't matter who anybody else's followers and what they're doing. It's about your audience and your community. So you really need to learn what they're like and what they don't like. So next on to Facebook. So Facebook's fantastic because it's somewhere where you can build your personal audience and your personal connections. So depending on your privacy settings, most people just have a community that is made up of their friends and their family and their colleagues, and they share updates with their friends and family and colleagues. So these are some of my personal updates recently. So obviously I was showing everybody that me and my little dog went out and voted, and also some updates and pictures from when we worked the AGM with my team at the Co-op. So these are obviously personal updates, and these go to all my friends and family. You can see the photo updates. As with Twitter, I would always encourage you to use images and video for the same reason, again, that it takes up more space on people's devices. So you really grab people's attention and people stop a little bit longer on what you'll have to say and actually observe it. For engaging with others on Facebook, as a person, you can do this really, really well. Obviously, you can engage with your friends and family day to day by commenting on each other's updates, but you can also go one step further and use groups to your advantage. So groups is where you can step out of your little circle that you've already built up and start making new friends. So you can find groups that are relevant to you and what you're doing. So these are some of the most visited groups and things obviously that I'm interested in. So there's local groups there, there's groups to do with topics, there's groups to do with a recent injury that I had. You can also discover groups. I'd really, really advise you to go out or go onto Facebook and go onto the groups tab and use Discover and start by searching your local area. So you can obviously search for your local town. So you can search for Chorley, Manchester, Leeds, and it'll perhaps bring up groups that are local to you and have other members of your local community in. So when you're doing community work, there's your audience. That's everybody in your local area, all in one group. You've got a little audience there waiting for your updates. So it's a great way to share the fantastic work that you're doing with people who aren't immediately connected with you, and a great way of getting the word out there. Definitely advise you to do that. So what content should you be sharing on Facebook? So as I said, images and videos work really, really well. I'm sure you see all the time on Facebook that it is a lot of people just sharing a lot of videos. And there's a reason for that, because people like to digest content in that way. So rather than have a big, long, wordy text, think about how you could perhaps make a little infographic or a little graphic out of it, or put it into a short, snappy video. So as I said, images and videos. There's also Facebook Live. So as with Twitter, you can go live on Twitter and you can go live on Facebook. So Facebook Live is great as well. And it's something that when you go live, so we've gone live before and we get great engagement rates, both as a business page, but also as a person. Whenever you go live, Facebook automatically tells all your friends and family that you have gone live. So it starts building that audience for you. So it's a great way to share content. So if you're at an event or something really exciting, it's a great way to share what's going on and sharing the atmosphere with other people who might not be able to be there. So hashtags on Facebook, this is a question that we've had. You can use hashtags on Facebook very much the way that you use hashtags on Twitter. They're just not as prominent and perhaps don't pack as big a punch on Facebook because not as many people use it, but you can use them. I wouldn't deter you not to, and I wouldn't deter you not to do so. So obviously, if we just pop back, we use hashtag the Co-op Way on a recent update that we did on a business page. But you can use hashtags as an individual, and very, very much like Twitter, it basically just compiles everybody else who is using that hashtag into one stream. So you can find people who are also talking about the Co-op Way. So if it's a location hashtag, it could be hashtag Chorley, and it could be people obviously that included updates to do with Chorley. Facebook search is a lot more powerful than it used to be. So it is worth a try. I wouldn't deter you not to do so. Next, on to Instagram. So Instagram updates is very much photos shared with other people. So Instagram is visual. What type of photos should you share? You should share the best photos that you can get, essentially. Instagram's very aspirational, so you need to just give a little bit of thought about what it is that you're trying to take a picture of and get the best possible shot that you can. So these are just some that I really drew my eye when I was looking at the hashtag Co-op Way hashtag on Instagram. So they're all very different. One of them's to do with fair trade, one of them's to do with local community fund, and one of them's to do with obviously local causes and the payout that we did not so long ago to local causes. But each of these are really visual pictures, and each of them you can see got great number of engagement. So some top tips on Instagram. Obviously, you can update your, you upload your image, and then you have the opportunity to obviously include a little bit of text there. Keep it short and sweet, very much like Twitter. It isn't a lengthy place that people tend to have big conversations. It's somewhere people go to have a look at a picture. So don't waste your time writing paragraphs and paragraphs underneath your image. Keep it short and sweet, and make your image do the talking. Links aren't clickable on Instagram. So when you write something and you include a link in the bottom of the image, it isn't actually clickable. So I wouldn't advise you to do that. The only links that are clickable are in your bio. So you can obviously include a link there and use hashtags. Definitely use hashtags on Instagram. They're a fantastic way of getting your picture out there to people past your followers. Exactly the same as Twitter. So as soon as you include a hashtag, you really increase your reach. So think about hashtags that are relevant to the image that you're sharing or the audience that you want to build. So hashtag community, hashtag local causes, hashtag volunteering, all might be relevant to you and what you are doing. So the big question, when should I be sharing content on social media? So obviously social media is 24/7, and people, you know, there's all these GIFs, there's all these infographics saying the best time to post is this, that, and the other. But really it comes down to you and your audience. So what might be a prominent time for people at one time might be completely different to your followers, depending on the lives that they live. So you should really think about you and your audience. So think about when you use social media. Do you use it at 8 o'clock on a Monday morning? Or is it during your lunch break? Or is it perhaps at 8 o'clock when you're relaxing on your couch? Just give that a little bit of think. It'll really help when you're thinking about when to share content. And it's very much trial and error. So you can perhaps share something at 12 p.m. and think that everyone's going to read it on their lunch break. They might not see it. Perhaps share it the next week at a different time in the evening and compare that engagement. See if more people engaged with it at 12 o'clock on the lunch break, or if people did engage more with it at tea time. There's no harm in obviously sharing the same image twice or the same video twice, and just perhaps rewording what you're saying, include like when you share it. The joy as well also with social media is that you can schedule content using third-party websites such as Hootsuite. Hootsuite is one that we'd recommend. So once you've kind of thought about when you want to share content, obviously you might not be available to share content during your lunch break or in the evening, or you might not even have to think about sharing content all day, every day. You might want to dedicate half an hour a week to decide on what you want to share on social media that week. So Hootsuite is a fantastic app too, a website to sign yourself up to. So it's very easy. You just go to hootsuite.com, and when you get there, you can sign in using a Facebook account or a Instagram or a Twitter account, and basically it'll redirect you through and it'll say authorize Hootsuite on Twitter or Facebook. You obviously say yes, and it basically just gives Hootsuite the power to send out messages on your social media account. It's a very easy thing to do. So to compose a message, you'd get a little dashboard such as this, and your composer is just at the top here. It's a completely free tool, by the way, so it's definitely one that we would recommend that you use. And you would type your update here, such as, I keep saying the same thing, I love working at Co-op. Okay, there we go. And you would click your scheduling. You can auto schedule, or you can actually pick a time yourself. So if I knew that I was busy later this evening, I would say, right, I want this to go out at 8:30 this evening. I'm busy. I don't want to have to worry about it. So I'm going to do this now, and I'm going to schedule. And I schedule it, and it'll go into my little scheduled post, and come 8:30 this evening, this tweet will go out on my Twitter profile without me even having to worry about it. So it's a fantastic way to get your content out there and have consistent content being shared. I would say though, don't rely just on sharing, scheduling all your content and never checking your social media accounts, because obviously the big joy with social media is that it's a two-way conversation. So it's not just about pushing out content at all times. It's obviously about engaging with your community and your audience on there. So if you know you're sharing content at 8:30 this evening, and it does work really well, and you get lots of questions and you get lots of people coming back to you, be sure that you're able to pick up on them not so long afterwards. Don't leave it for weeks on end, because the conversation will have moved on and your followers will have found something else to talk about with other people. So that's just a little FYI. Okay, so that is it from me. I hope I didn't rattle through that too quickly. I did try to get in as much as possible in a short amount of time. So I really hope that you enjoyed it and you learned some top tips from me. If you do have any additional questions, then please just send me a tweet. That is my Twitter handle. I'm always happy to help. Thank you very much for watching.